Good morning from the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, which is the middle of nowhere is one of my favorite places to be. It's been interesting. I've been thinking a lot lately as I've gone through some of my own issues and where I'm at in my current life. You know, I've been a strength and conditioning coach, or been working with people in some form or another for going on just over 20 years now. And I've been thinking a lot about why a lot of people are struggling. And one of the biggest issues that I see, probably the main issue, is most people don't really know exactly what they want. They might have an idea of what society wants for them or what other people want for them, but they really don't know what they want. And this sounds like an easy thing, but it's really not. And I've been going through this lately with been working with a guy named Pat Rigsby, who's a business coach consultant. And I went and met with him, and we sat down and hashing out what it is I want, which is really hard because you start looking at what you want versus, you know, other people in your life, situations in your life, and figuring out what my ideal business is. And that's essentially what I do with people when they come to me and meet with me. They're usually frustrated. And a lot of times it's me sitting down and walking them through what it is they really want, and one, if that's obtainable for them, and what are the costs and what are they going to have to give up. I'll give you an example. I had a young lady come to me. She was referred to me by a physical therapist. Beautiful, tall. She wanted to be a runway model. And she kept getting injured trying to train for that. The people that she had been working with were doing all sorts of advanced sprints and plyos and high intensity work with her. And she was already pretty petite, and they wanted her to get even smaller. They wanted her hips to be like 2 inches smaller. And, you know, we took some measurements, and her hip bones alone, like her hips were wider than the measurements. Her hip bones themselves were wider than the measurements they wanted her to be. And she had multiple autoimmune issues. She was young, like maybe 19. And she had already had her gallbladder removed, and so whatever she was doing wasn't working for her. So I called my friend Ben Bruno and talked to him because he works with a lot of people in the modeling industry. And we talked about, you know, there's all sorts of other avenues of the modeling industry that you can do. It doesn't have to be a runway situation, right? So I talked with her, and we both agreed, you know, laying everything out on paper, that, you know, getting her healthy was first, because she's 19 and she's already having all these issues. You know, what is it going to look like if she continues on this path to 35? So we started like a very sound, you know, rational, you know, basic strength training program, and got her eating, you know, better food and taking better care of herself. And let's just go for healthy. And she did. And then she started looking for, you know, modeling agencies that were looking for people like her. And she ended up finding someone in Chicago that really liked her and liked her look, and moved up there. So, you know, for her, it was maybe just saying, hey, this is what I really think I want, but I'm not willing to give my health up to get there. And am I really able to get there, because what the demands they're putting on me are just not realistic from a sustainability standpoint. Another young lady I worked with in a team setting, she had come to me as part of a team, and she was, I think, 17 or 18 at the time, and her goal was to be a Division I goalie. And she was working with another coach, and the other coach told her if she put 8 inches on her vertical that she'd be able to play a Division I goalkeeper. The only problem is she was 5'1", okay? And most girls, by the time they're 17, 18 years old, are pretty much done growing. So in the politest way I could, I said, look, I mean, that's an admirable goal. I understand, what you're trying to accomplish. And I brought a girl over next to her. She did this in a public setting. Like, she asked me publicly, what are we doing to increase your vertical jumps? And these were girls that were having problems with basic calisthenics. Most of them couldn't do a push-up. And so there was no need for any kind of advanced type training. Just by doing some basic fundamental things, they all would, improve every aspect, because their fitness level was just, their level of preparedness was pretty bad. And I brought a taller girl over who was maybe 5'9", 5'10", really long wingspan. And, I had her put her hands in the air, and she was able to touch the top of the squat rack really easily. And I said to the other girl, I said, put your hands up and jump. And, she couldn't even really get her hands above the other girl, up to her elbows. And then I put an 8-inch box, and I had her stand on the 8-inch box. And even with her standing on the 8-inch box and jumping, she still couldn't reach, the distance that this girl could standing. And I said, look, I'm not trying to be mean or cruel, but, a coach is going to look at you and they're going to pick the taller person. I mean, that's just reality. And I said, you might be able to go play at a smaller school as a goalie, but big D1 schools are not gonna want to take you on. They want somebody who's tall with a long wingspan. I'm sorry, I can't play in the NBA there. She was not very happy with me, obviously. And I told her, I said, you might want to switch positions, or maybe look at some other sports if playing at a D1 level is your goal. But there's all sorts of great smaller schools out there. I tried to explain this to her, but obviously she was not very happy with me and did not continue to work with me, which is fine. But I would much rather be honest than take somebody's money saying, well, if you just put 8 inches on your vertical, then you're going to be able to play, Division I goalie. I dealt with that when I was in high school. I played college football, which was a goal of mine, but my wrestling coach told me, he said, if you want to achieve a high level of excellence, he says, you're much better off, sticking with wrestling, because you're competing with less people. And he was absolutely right. But at the time, I had my mindset on playing college football, and but there was no way I was going to aspire to a higher level beyond that. Whereas in wrestling, I could have, gone to a fairly high level, especially in Canada, where you're competing with less people. So, the whole point of this, and then the majority of my clients are women, and a lot of what I do is sitting down with them and figuring out what they want. And most of them just want to look better naked, and they want to feel good. But most of them are choosing activities that take a lot of time. One, they're usually, long distance running is a big one. Or they're doing high intensity classes, and their self-care is not up to par. And so a lot of what I do is re-educating them on, okay, we need to kind of pick some different activities that are going to give you what you want for the least amount of time possible. And that way you're able to have, a family life and have, obligations with other things. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people picking activities, especially long distance running, that, they're not doing it to be a better marathon runner or a better 5K person, and I've worked with those people too. And I have nothing against that, nothing against running. I have nothing, someone comes to me. I've had multiple people over the years come to me and say, hey, why don't you help me get my, time. I've worked with a couple ultra marathoners and helping them figure out ways to raise their fitness level without running in the pool and doing things like VersaClimber and things like that, things that allow them to raise their activity and basic strength training program to help keep them healthy. I have no problem with people that want to do that. That's not a problem. If that's what they want, if they have a performance goal, fantastic. The problem runs is when people use things like running marathons to lose body fat or to get fitter. It's just not, it's not time-wise, it's not a good option. And it's not going to give women, the results that they're looking for, because running in a straight line for hours is not going to make you more athletic. It's not going to give you, most women, the body that they want. If anything, it's going to, keep them from, it's going to make it a lot harder to stick to a diet, because all that activity is going to make them ravenously hungry. Not to mention, the pounding on the joints and all that sort of thing. And strength training is it's just an easier way to manage stress. And it's an easier way to develop athleticism, because we can put things in the program that help them become more functional in everyday life. Whereas, running in a straight line does not really help you with everyday life, picking things up, carrying kids around, getting down and moving around on the floor. So there's just a few thoughts for you. I'm going to go through a series of why most people are struggling, or most people fail with fitness. I think you'll find it helpful. Some of the experience I've gained over the last, 20 plus years working with people, and with my own struggles, with my own journey to figure things out. This is I love working with people. I love being in the gym, but this is another side to me that I need, and I have to be able to set my business up so I get enough time out here with the coyotes and the deer. And I had a deer just run across the screen here, or run across the background here just a second ago. And that's a big part of who I am. So being able to figure out the best business practice for me, where I'm able to help people make an income, make a living, and still get to spend enough time in places like this so that I'm fulfilled and happy at the same time. So a lot of it is finding balance, especially after you've been doing this for such a long time. When you first start in this business, you try and train as many people as you can. And as you mature, you're able to be a little more selective, and then figure out exactly what it is and how you want to approach that. But, just about everyone, including myself, needs some sort of guidance and coaching at some point or another. So if you're struggling and you're in a place where you're frustrated, find somebody that has experience in what you're struggling with, and sit down with them and, write things down on paper. One of the things that's really helped me is journaling every day. Like, I go for a walk every morning during the sunrise, like now, and just kind of observe and let things kind of come into my head. And then I write them down, who I am, what I want. I think that's very helpful. Most people in our busy world don't take the time to sit down and do things like that. And that's very helpful. So I hope you like this. I'm planning on getting a more of a rhythm. I had a car accident here recently, and that kind of knocked me off my plan of posting more stuff on YouTube. And so I'm just getting back from that. And I have all sorts of links in the bottom that you might find helpful. Everything from social media tools to, products to help you become a better coach if you're a coach. My Amazon store with books and different resources that I like. So you can check those out if you like to. Please like and subscribe this. That way I can grow the channel a little bit more and help more people, and help myself at the same time, so I can spend more time out here in the middle of nowhere. Hope you have a great day.